Ain't no mountain high enough. Ain't no valley low enough. Ain't no river wide enough to keep me from getting to you, babe.
Woo! Alright, today we're going to talk about them mountains and them valleys, baby. I'm back. Today we're going to talk about slope. So up to this point, you've heard me talk a lot about this little formula right here. Y equals mx, right? We've talked about that quite a bit. So now today we're going to talk about that m, and that m is actually standing for the slope. We've talked about the fact that it can be a couple different things. We've said it can be the COP. We said it could be unit rate. Now, of course, we're going to talk about it being slope. So again, all those things are the same. So slope, COP, unit rate are all the same. Just like granny, nana, meemaw, all mean grandmother, okay? So, today we're going to talk about there are 4 different types of slope. So we've got one slope that looks like that, one slope that looks like that, one slope that looks like that, and one slope that looks like that. So we've got 4 basic types of slope that we're going to be discussing, and I'm going to give you the options and see if you're smart enough to figure them out, okay? So out of those, if we were doing a little matching game here, okay, we've got zero slope, we've got undefined slope, we've got positive slope, we've got negative slope. Okay, so if you're going to match those up and put, I'm going to come here underneath each one of these and write down what type of slope it actually has. Take just a second, and I'm going to just pause and be quiet for a second. Let you think about it. Which one do you think goes with which? All right, so this one's going up and right. So you think you know what that is? If you say positive slope, you're right. Okay, and this one's coming, of course, down and right. So if you said negative slope for that one, you're right. This one's going, of course, straight up and down, otherwise known as vertical. And if you said that one was undefined slope, you'd be right. And this one, of course, is horizontal. And if you said that one had zero slope, you'd be right. Okay, so those are the 4 types of slope we're going to be talking about and seeing what we come up with. Okay, so we also are going to be talking about the fact that, like in this little equation right here, y equals 3/5 x. Okay, that 3/5 right there is the m, and that is telling us the slope of the line. Okay, so we're going to talk about what that 3/5 means. So the 3 is the rise, and the 5 is the run. Okay, so if you would, if I would do this on graph paper, and we will be doing it on graph paper. But let's just say right now, let's say we had a point here, and we went up 3, so that'd be 1, 2, 3. That's the rise. Okay, and then if we run over 5, that would be 5 to the right, because you can see it's positive, and positive goes right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to put a dot there, and that would be 5 right. So you can see we got the rise of 3, the run of 5. If you draw a little line between those two, hey, guess what? That's got positive slope, just like we talked about right there. Okay, so positive 3, positive 5, that's up 3, right 5, rise over run, and you can see that that's got a positive slope. So if we go to one like this, let's say we had y equals negative 2/3 x. Okay, so now we're talking about negative 2 over 3. That's our slope coming out of here, negative 2/3. All right, so the negative 2 on the rise part, 3 is on the run part. Okay, so if we're going negative 2, that is actually going down. So we'd have a little thing here, and we'd go down 1, 2, and then we'd go our run of 3, which would be to the right. I said run 1, 2, 3. Then we could go down 2 and run 1, 2, 3, and down 2 and run 1, 2, 3. So you can do that over and over again like that. It kind of ends up being like stair steps. Okay, so that's down 2, and then run of 3, and then down 2, and a run of 3, and then down 2, and a run of 3. And you can see if you hook all those together, hey, guess what? That's got a negative slope, right? Just like that does. So this had negative slope, and this one's got positive slope. So we're going to be working on trying to figure out some of these numbers to figure out, which ones have positive slope, which ones got negative slope, and we'll get into undefined and zero here maybe on the next lesson, but today we're probably just going to focus more on positive and negative slope, but we'll see what happens when we work some of these problems out. Okay, so we got an idea about what the slopes are, an idea of how to read them when they're coming out of this little y equals mx formula, okay? Whatever's in front of the x, that's the slope, okay? That's the m. So I got one other biggie to throw on you today, and that would be the slope formula that we're going to use to find this stuff, okay? So the slope formula is our next item, and that, of course, is you'll hear it a couple different ways, and I'll write them both down. So that is the change in y over the change in x. All right, and when we were doing our stuff with our proportional relationships, remember we had those tables, and I told you had to do y divided by x to figure out what the relationship was, to figure out what the COP and the unit rate was. So it's still still kind of going in that same direction. Okay, y is over x. So the formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So we're going to be doing a lot of subtracting of integers here, so we're going to be reviewing some of those rules. So that is what we're really focusing on. Okay, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, and that, of course, again, that stands for m because the slope is the m. Okay, so m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So there we go. Again, the m stands for the slope. If you want to look up and find out why the m stands for slope instead of s standing for slope, all right, you can feel free to do that and email me that answer. All right, so let's say we have been given a couple of points here and we want to find the slope of the line, and let's see if we can figure these out. Okay, we're going to use the formula. So let's see. Let's say we've got point A is at 1, negative 3. And we've got point B at 5, 4. Okay? So we'll kind of go through and just talk about, what these are. So in this pair, we have got an X and a Y. And in this pair, we've got an X and a Y. So I'm going to say this one up here is X1. And this one is Y1. And then down here, I've got X2. And the 4 is y2. Okay, so the second numbers, of course, in the order pair are the y's. The first number are the x's because they come in x, y coordinate pairs. All right, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I'm going to take and put each one of these in the right spot, and then we'll go through and work it. Okay. So my y2 I have here is 4 minus my y1 is negative 3. Okay, 4 is y2 minus y1, which was negative 3. And we'll work that in just a second. So I'm just going to come over here and rewrite that. 4 minus negative 3. Okay, now let's do the x's. So my x2 from over here is 5 minus my x1 up there is 1. Well, that's easy enough. That's just 5 for x2, and you subtract the x1, which is 1. All right, so let's start with that part first because that's easier. So what's 5 minus 1? Well, 5 minus 1, of course, would be 4. Now, up here, I have got a minus negative. And if you remember back to the beginning when we talked about all these integer rules, we did additive inverse to that. Okay, so if we do additive inverse to that, that's going to become 4 plus 3 because we keep the first number the same, we change that to addition, and we take the opposite of the second number, and that's going to make that a positive 3. So additive inverse makes that 4 plus 3, and that's 7. So my rise is going to be 7, and my run is going to be 4. Okay, so if I had, if I had my graph paper, I'd do it on there, but we can just do it here. It's fine. So if I had a dot here, and I did a rise of 7, that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then we had a run of 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And we can do that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then a run of 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, we'd have a dot there, we'd have a point there, we'd have a point there, and of course you could put it through there just like that, and you can see that that's going up and right. Okay, and if I go back and refer to our chart up there, one that looks like that has a positive slope, and this has got positive slope because both of those numbers are positive. The 7's positive and the 4's are positive, right? So the slope for this, you'd write m equals 7/4. You do not have to take and write that as a mixed number, and you don't want to write it as a mixed number. You want to leave it just like that. Okay, I want to keep this one kind of short, so there's that for today. And don't forget that m stands for slope. All right, there ain't no mountain too high that we can't climb, baby, so we're going to keep on climbing. Woo! If you got questions about this, we're going to continue to work on it. Don't feel bad. I'm sure it's the first time you've ever done it, so it's a learning process. If you got questions, let me know. We can do it. There ain't no mountain high enough. We can climb it together. Ain't no river wide enough. We can't cross it. We can do it. Okay? Ciao, baby.